Fuel tank pressure sensor codes. It's important to have accurate fuel tank pressure for this leak test and the control of tank vacuum. There have been cases where an out-of-calibration fuel tank pressure sensor has caused tank ruptures and failures. So here's some of our things. One of our generic codes is P0450, pressure sensor malfunction, undefined. We'll have to test all of its functions, and we're going to do that for all of them. 451, fuel tank pressure sensor signal does not appear to show normal reading changes during purge. 452, fuel tank pressure sensor is slightly below the normal range. This is usually a very low reading. And 453, it's above the normal range. And 454, it's intermittent. This is the most tough one. Watch for this. Watch for poor contacts and stuff. Let's go into diagnosing it. And part of the diagnosing it is what is the normal voltage. We're going to diagnose the fuel tank pressure codes as a group. Since the procedures are absolutely redundant, we're going to do the same thing every time. We're going to compare key on engine off values to typical readings for vehicles being tested. Now, remember, the signal voltage testing is done by the comprehensive component monitor. It should be easy to diagnose. We don't have to go into specialized mode. Typical values for a GM setting engine off, 1.3 to 1.7 volts. Typical Ford, 2.5, 2.7. Typical Nissan, near 1.8. Hyundai reads it out as millimeters of Hg. It reads from -2 to +2 millimeters. Now, this gives us a starting point. It says it's starting at the right place. Now, we have to obviously test the Hyundai with a scan tool. You say, well, there's many of them missing. Well, some manufacturers don't use the fuel tank pressure sensor, like Chrysler. Let's go in here and look at what we're going to be doing. It's a 3-wire sensor. On the left, we have ground. If we take our voltmeter and go to pin 2, it should be under 1/10 of a volt. If we go to pin 3, it should be between 4.9 and 5.1. Then in the middle, does it match engine off signal conditions? We just went over what we'd be looking for in those situations. If ground and 5 volts are normal with the wrong signal value, replace the sensor. Let me say it again. If ground and 5 volts are normal with the wrong signal value, replace the sensor. It's that simple. And we can always go out here and make sure it's responding. It shows minor movements here. We've got fuel tank pressure sensor down here at the bottom. It's not moving very much, but it does show movement. It's in a normal range. This is the GM. Is it between 1.3 and 1.7? Yes, it is. It's working fine, and it's moving a little bit, so that should be normal. That's a pretty quick test. So the best way we would recommend is test drive recording like this, so you can detect most of the code problems with a fuel tank pressure sensor. And as a pinpoint, you can use the voltage test. So now it's time to go look at the manufacturer strategies. We said some manufacturers don't use the fuel tank pressure sensor. That's because their leak detection strategy doesn't require one. Now we have to get specific to different families of and different ways of doing the leak check.